call the meeting of the Clinton Township Zoning Board of Appeals for Wednesday, January 19th, 2022. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander,
Present.
Mrs. Moore Porter,
Present.
Mr. Campbell here, Mr. Diak,
Here.
Mr. DeBartolomeo,
Here.
Mr. Merrill,
Here.
Mr. Pearl.
Here.
Also in attendance is Mr. Bruce Thompson, the planning director for Clinton Township.
Thank you, sir. I have a agenda before us for approval.
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, a couple informational items first. Prior to the current zoning board of appeals meeting, a dedicated email address has been established directing your emails to the zoning board, which allow you to contact them via email to provide your input with regard to agenda items and ask questions prior to the meeting. The email is zba@clintontownship-mi.gov. Throughout the meeting and on agenda items, your email relating to a specific agenda item will be read prior to the zoning board voting on each agenda item. Further, following consideration of all agenda items, persons who have connected remotely will be permitted to speak. Existing rules regarding public participation otherwise fully apply. Next item is, the Board of Appeals functions as a quasi-judicial body with specific powers and limitations as outlined in the various sections of the zoning ordinance and the statute. The zoning ordinance sets the standards the board must use in reaching any decision. Once a decision of the board becomes final, only the courts can modify or reverse that decision. This board is not empowered to change the terms or intent of an ordinance, therefore, you must petition the Township Board of Trustees if you wish to amend the ordinance. Before a variance can be granted, certain requirements must be satisfied. Number one, practical difficulty must be demonstrated. Number two, whether strict compliance with area setbacks, frontage, height, bulk, or density would unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for a permitted purpose or would render the conformity unnecessary burdensome. Number three, whether a variance would do substantial justice to the petitioner as well as to other property owners in the district, or whether a lesser relaxation would give substantial relief and be more consistent with justice to others. Number four, whether the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances of the property. Number five, whether the problem is self-created. And number six, the spirit of the ordinance is observed, public safety is secure, and justice is done. Got one more. Public comment. The chairperson shall call all persons wishing to address the board during the public comment portion of the agenda and request their name and address for the record. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Comments by persons must be confined to zoning board of appeals businesses. Meeting topics over which the zoning board of appeals has authority and which involve zoning board of appeals matters. Should the board decide that a response to a specific question raised by persons at the public comment section is needed, the board shall refer the question to the Planning and Community Development Department Director or his designee for review. Thank you. With that being said, item number one, Mr. Secretary.
First item is 35349 Groesbeck Highway. This is a request for reconsideration on two variances received in January 17th, 2020. There were 73 letters sent to owners and occupants within 300 feet. None were returned as undeliverable. And just for further clarification, the reconsideration is basically It means that they're looking for an extension on the variance that was issued in 2020.
Is a petitioner here? State your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. My name is Ron Chiesa, RA Chiesa Architects. I am the architect of the project. Our address is 43260 Garfield, Suite 210, Clinton Township. I'm here tonight asking for a reconsideration of the variance that my client received almost 2 years to the date today. So we're looking to continue on with the project and looking for the variances to be extended so that the project can go forward. Plans are in for permit, architectural engineering. So this is part of the process we have to go through. With that, I have nothing to add.
Is there anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open it up to the public. Come to the podium. You have 3 minutes to speak on this issue. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes. Sam Bushel, 18546 Wayland. This project has, their site plan expired. They have done nothing. In October, I put in a FOIA request. Nothing had been done at all. No permits, nothing had been done other than a permit for a cyclone fence along Groesbeck, which was not, that's what the planning commission, the board did not want to have. The other problem is, there again, from what you read out today, the problem number 5 is if the hardship that was stated, which was the electric lines partway through the lot, if it's self-made, you cannot legally give them a variance or extend the variance. And in this case, the owner of this was the Carousel Ballroom was there. The owner of the Carousel Ballroom, as his daughter, who still owns the property next door, stated, he wanted them wires put behind there so as they wouldn't be in front of his restaurant. They are not in an easement. They literally are a self-made problem, unique to the property, but it's the property owner. There again, when he bought the property from that owner, he inherited that thing. So it's a matter of, this has been a hardship to the community at large for years. The 2 years ago came after this had to go to court. Then they had to come in. The trucking company ended up there in the middle of the night, and then now it's a dirt lot. The only thing they've done in the last 2 years was put up the fence that nobody wanted. It looks horrible. I hope you've all driven by to see exactly what it is, because now their new plan has cyclone fence along at the Groesbeck side again. McDonald's, which was supposed to get a vinyl fence rather than the masonry fence that should have been there, they have been putting up with the dirt and gravel for years from it. Nothing was done on that. Nothing was done to screen the townhomes behind. This is a hardship on the citizens. The township attorney, who actually, the citizens, we pay him, we pay yous to enforce the laws. He can easily tell you, because I've already talked to him, that's not a legitimate reason for a variance, because it is self-made. That's all I've got.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else from the audience like to speak to this matter? Please step forward, name and address for the record, please.
Joanne Hines, Diamond Eye and Mold, JSP Properties, 35401 Groesbeck. I am the property adjoining this property. And as far as I'm concerned, it looks terrible. 2 different colors, fences. I mean, it's very unattractive as you go down Groesbeck. I'd like to see something done. I mean, that wasn't what with you guys that I believe the council agreed on in the beginning. So if he gets a variance, what are we talking? Another 2 years before anything's done? It's still unpaved. It still looks terrible. The fact that it's just very unsightly for our community. Can't bring people in if you have a junkyard basically on your main road.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the audience like to speak to this matter? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public meeting. Zoning Board? Mr. DiBarmelo.
Good. Mr. Kiss, could you approach the podium again, please? I got a question for you. So we know the variances you're asking for extension of variances. We've heard from 2 people here in the community saying that nothing has been done or the way it looks now. what's planned for the future, and if anything is planned for the future, how soon?
Well, we've had to go through a procedural issue. Obviously, we had COVID come in, everything was closed down for 3 months. So that affected the project also. So we've met every deadline that we had to turn drawings into the community. Civil engineering plans were turned in for permit, architectural plans were turned in for permit. But because of the timing in your ordinance has no allowance for pandemic situations where things are just shut down and things are put to a stop. So we've gone through site plan approval, we've gotten site plan approval gained again, and then this is the next step that we had to get is our variances. So they can't issue permits for the project and the plans are in for permit, but until we go through this process, they cannot do anything.
Can you explain what future plans are for that area as far as fencing, paving, or what have you?
Well, the project as it was approved, site plan approval as well as plans that are in for permit, will have vinyl fencing along the McDonald side, which is part of your ordinance. What was agreed upon with the variance that was issued a couple years ago was we would put slats in a chain link fence along the Grand Trunk Railroad easement, even though there's a screening there with some existing shrubbery and brush, and it's 100-foot wide. So we agreed to do that. On the east side of the property will be a chain link fence, which is along, again, with trees and shrubbery. And across the front, back about 150 feet from Groesbeck, would be decorative black fencing that would face Groesbeck with planting material in that area. And I know it's not part of this requirement, but we've exceeded your landscaping requirements for the Groesbeck corridor, even the new initiative that's coming into play. I don't know where that sits right now, but our landscaping is beyond what's required. We've got a lot of green area in front. And obviously, my client can't do anything until we go through this process. So that's why we're here.
Thank you. I just wanted an explanation.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the board? Mr. Pearl?
Yes, yeah, obviously it's a mess over there, and we got to get this project going. So I understand with the pandemic, you need this to get going, but you'll assure us that everything will be done the way it was outlined in the Planning Commission and Zoning Board requirements?
That is the plan. That is the plan. As I said, the drawings are in for permit. They cannot start their review process until we go through this process. So, again.
When do you expect construction to start?
It would probably be spring at this time, so, and a lot of it's going to be based on availability of materials. There's a shortage of materials. Construction is bogged down and very difficult at this point in time. There's no structural steel that's available, so all of that will factor in, but the intent is, once permits are issued, is to start this process.
Is there anybody virtually who'd like to speak to this matter, which I forgot to ask that? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right.
Okay.
I do have a couple questions. How long, once you get your permits, how long is this time frame is going to last for you to start the project and also complete it?
Construction projects today are taking anywhere from a project of this size and scope, anywhere from a year to 2 years. The problem that you have right now is there's a shortage of materials all across the board. There's steel joists, if you put an order in today, you can't get it until sometime toward the end of next year.
Do you have to have an approval before you can start ordering, or
Yes.
have you had any
Yes,
materials
absolutely.
before that?
Absolutely, you have to have approvals. Bank loans are tied into, do you have approvals?
Okay.
So nothing can start until you have approvals.
Okay. And do you see yourself having to ask 2 years from now for another extension, or do you think
No,
that?
no, I don't see that.
Okay.
Mr. Pearl?
Yeah, I agree, there's a tough situation, but I don't want to see that sit the way it is, so, you've got to get this done within the 2-year limitation here. So I'll move it this time that we approve the extension of the variances that were issued on January 17, 2020.
Does that include all the conditions?
All the conditions that are also on that certificate.
Is there support to that motion? We can further discuss it.
What?
What?
The
Okay,
only-
Mr. Campbell supported,
Yeah.
Mr. DiGarmo.
Yeah, the only thing, and I'm trying to go back a little bit to the storage units further down Groesbeck, Lavis. And I don't know if it was this commission or planning commission, we put a time limit on, because that was sitting for a long period of time as well.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember that? I mean, but remember though, that was sitting for a long period of time. And we had to put some time frames on there to get that project rolling. I understand the, as far as shortage, material and all that, but I'd like to see some type of time element put on once the permits are there, that some type of ordering of material or construction begin within a certain time frame after that, just to get that ball rolling a little bit.
Well, the architects assured us that
Yeah,
that they're gonna roll on it.
yeah,
I'm, in reviewing, like, construction bids for the school system, a lot of bids weren't even, nobody bid.
yeah.
There's a real problem right now. It's gotten worse than it was
Sure.
when they built. And I'm the one that, what we did is we shortened their time from
Yeah.
2 years to a little
Yeah.
less.
I'm not saying, to put them, to tighten the noose on them. I think we just want to see progress, that's all. But, and
Well, I think
and
this-
Mr. Casey, I know you've been in front many times, and,
And my client
yeah,
has some other options that he could do with that property. So I mean, he's serious
Sure.
about developing
no,
it to
I
this
understand.
intent.
I think all of us, we just want to see that ball roll and get it,
Yeah.
and
I
we
think this
understand.
is it. If he doesn't build it within there, I'm not gonna approve another 2 years.
Okay.
No, we did we did a shorter time with Fountain View, but that was pre-2019.
I get it.
And with the way supplies are, because I'm in the landscape business, I mean, it's hard to get brick, it's hard to get workers, it's hard to whatever. So I don't think I would want
Okay.
to hold them to less than the 2 years, but after 2 years, that's it, pretty much. Dave?
Thank you. Just a simple question. Do you guys intend on, obviously, one of the comments was that there's two different colors in the fence or the slats up front. Is the intention to make that a uniform color? Or are you guys just planning?
I can't comment on what's out there currently, but what the fence that is out there is just temporary.
Okay.
So that's just, was a screening purpose for what's there currently. So the fact that if there's two different colors on that fence, it's probably because that's all the color fabric that they had, and it was a temporary thing. It was not meant to be permanent.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that, the one concern was addressed.
Yeah.
That it's uniform.
I wouldn't be happy if one of my projects had that.
Go ahead, Mark.
I do have a question. Just piggybacking off of that, I know as a residential person, I'm big on curb appeal. Where is that as far as the project priority? Would that be something you will quickly address to make sure? Because beautification of the township is something key and that the near and dear to my heart. I know those around the area, especially if it's impacting that appearance from the businesses. I personally would like to see that get addressed immediately. Do you know timetable wise on when the client would be focused on at least, whether it be the chain link fence or just fixing it up so the other businesses around there from a appearance standpoint don't look as bad?
There won't be any changes to the site as it currently looks to beautify what it is. Once permits are issued and the project can go through the bid phase, form, and construction scheduling, the site will change, but it's not, everything has a certain sequence. You can't do beautification work before you scrape the site and put in utilities and put foundations in. And so there's a sequence that happens. So until you get toward the end of the project, you don't have grass and you don't have landscaping and trees. So I don't know if that answers your question specifically, but there's nothing that they can do at this point in time to enhance anything. And that's why we're all here trying to move this forward, is to get this ball rolling. Until we can do that, it's going to be what it is at this point.
I see your hand up, Mr. Bruchel. I did close the public hearing side.
I realize that, but there is pertinent information that I think was disclosed to you just now.
I'll give you 1 minute.
Okay, that's all I need.
But when I open the meetings,
I
for
understand.
public comment, and then I close it.
Yep.
And I did see your hand up, but I didn't want anybody else get interrupted.
Well, I would ask that if you're making the motion and seconding it, that you restate what the public hardship is, because I think that's the basis of this entire problem, and it's in the paperwork from before, but it wasn't stated tonight. It's the privately owned poles. But also, you have to realize the fence that's there, that is two colors, that is ugly, that was put up with a permit after the site plan, everything has been expired, and the planner stated at a planning commission meeting, which is on video, that the township board asked them to put that fence up. They did not. The fence company is right on the same property. They could put up the vinyl fence for McDonald's immediately, which would be a big, it's not going to hinder their thing, it's required. That and the people behind with the slats
1 minute,
should be
sir.
done. Okay, very good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The motion maker, should we just make the motion include the hardship that was in the original?
Yes, we did.
We did?
Yes.
Okay.
It's included.
Okay. Anybody else?
And
Any-
Thompson, did I make the motion correct?
Yes.
Okay, that
Jerry?
extends it for the 2 years then,
Yes.
if it's approved.
Is there any emails?
No, I have no emails during this meeting for this.
Okay. Seeing no more correspondence, roll call vote.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell, yes. Mr. Bartolomeo?
Yes.
Mr. Merrill?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Votes no.
Mrs. Amor Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Diak?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next item on the agenda, Union Lake Villas. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary.
This is for, let's see, the paperwork says 24-unit, multiple-family condominium complex on the west side of Union Lake Road, although I believe it's actually down to a 20-unit, multiple-family condominium complex. There were 273 letters sent to owners and occupants within 300 feet. One was returned as undeliverable. We've received 2 written replies that were distributed by Mr. Thompson to all of the members of the board. Those were from 2 people living in Meadowbridge condominiums, and both of them were essentially urged that this not be approved.
Thank you. Is a petitioner here?
I'm here via Zoom.
Okay, state your name and address for the record.
It's Dino Peter Scolas, 767 Gravel Ridge Road, Leonard, Michigan, 48367.
Okay, go ahead and state your case, please.
We've had this in the town for over a decade. Various attempts, something on it, and finally come up with a plan that we think by most of the part. Last time we were here for the variances that we're trying to do.
Is there anything you can do, Bruce?
We do a 24-unit apartment building.
No.
We were getting some resistance from the people to the south. So we did some due diligence,
Okay,
and
Adam.
then we actually investigated. In fact, that they're enjoying is greater than what they're
Mr.
actually
Scolas?
trying to deny us up. This has
Mr.
been
Mr.
approved and the
Mr.
various,
Scolas?
hardships and hurdles that we've overcome been delayed.
Mr. Scolas, we can't hear you. Why don't you try turning your video off? And see if that works
Turn my
out any
video
better.
off. You can't hear me now?
Yeah, take the camera off. Turn the camera off.
No, that.
Was that better?
No, if it flips it around.
Why don't you try to talk a little bit? No, you turned the camera around. Just
That didn't work.
disable the camera, right?
Yeah, it should be on the touch screen itself.
Okay, I think I did.
Okay, now you
I'm
did.
not-
Voice sounds better.
Yeah, can you start over, sir?
No, happy to. So Dino Peter Scolas, 767 Gravel Ridge Road, Leonard, Michigan, 48367. I represent Scolas Development, Scolas Construction in this process. I've owned this property for well over a decade in the community. It's currently half started, half completed, and was put on hold during the economic downturns of 2007-8. The infrastructure is over 50% done. The sanitary, the water, the retention pond, the D-cell, and the bypass lane are all installed and ready to go. In the meantime, we've been keeping the place mowed and the tax is current for over a decade. At this time, we'd like to complete this project and create, a viable tax source in the township and create some homes for people to live in.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, last time we were here, we decided to table this property or this project, and we made some concessions because that was the sentiment of the board at the time. As far as we were trying to do two 12-unit buildings, we've reduced the density significantly, and our proposed density is actually less than the property to the south that are opposing this density. It doesn't seem rational.
Are you asking for
we're doing this all in the attempt of trying to get along with the neighbor. And we're just trying to build a quality project. We just got done completing a project in the township on 15 Mile Road last year. And it came out wonderfully, and it's there for all to enjoy. And in the meantime, it employs another 50 people in the township.
Are you still requesting a variance for a 24 unit or a 20 unit?
Well, I reduced it to 20 as a concession to this board and the adjoining neighbors.
It said that because that was the original variance request.
Okay. Mr. Scholes, do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anybody from the public would like to speak to this matter?
I would.
Okay, I can't see you, but name and address for the record.
I have the camera on. You can't see it? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, but we can hear you real well.
All right. This is Pat Gilchrist. I live at 24473 Meadowbridge Drive in Clinton Township. We are the property next to this proposed piece of property here on Union Lake. My problem with this is that it started out as a 5-unit, and then it went to a 12-unit, and then it went to a 24-unit, and now it's down to 20. It was approved for a 5-unit. At 12 units, I think there was a variance that made him buy some property next door from the apartment building. There's barely enough property there now to turn a fire truck around. I mean, you can turn it around, but it won't be easy, that's for sure. My bigger problem is that this building he wants to put in is 10 feet from the fence line. The property here on Meadowbridge he complained about how much property how many units are here. This piece of property is much, much bigger than the property on Union Lake there. There's no comparison to the two. Of course not. Besides that, a 2-story building 10 feet from the property line, that puts people right in my front yard, in the neighbor's front yard, all the way down. That's a breach of privacy. You can't even get sunlight in there anymore then. It's not right. We were here first. Why can't we enjoy our property without having a big hulking building 10 feet from the property line? Certainly, a garage in Clinton Township, the overhang has to be further from the fence than 10 feet. I can't imagine any of you guys would want that. This area has begun to get quite the reputation for being maybe not so great. Overcrowding isn't going to help it. That doesn't help it at all. I don't understand why this has to go in like this. What happened to the 12 units? What happened to the 1-story building? Now it's nothing but a money venture. And it could put a hardship on Meadowbridge because that's going to hurt my property values. That's not right. That isn't right at all. We've been here for years and years. If that building is going to be too close to the property line, there's too many units there. It was approved for 12 and now they want 24 or 20. It's too much. It's overcrowding. It's too big and it will damage all the property values here. I have a problem with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr.
All right,
Bouchard.
yes, nothing has been stated as to what the exact variance that they're going for is, especially when this says 24, but it's 20. Are they going for setback, reductions, volume? What exactly is the hardship that warrants whatever the variance is? And we don't know what the variance is, so.
Mr. Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The variances are exactly the same as they were when this item was first brought before the Zoning Board of Appeals. That has not changed. This board postponed this item to give the petitioner the opportunity to look at reducing the density, meaning the number of units. And that is what has been submitted by the petitioner. But the setback variance, the lot width variance, all those things, that remains the same. So.
But it's not stated. And there again, if you look at the agenda, if you pull up the agenda that's online right now, none of that's on there. We don't know what the variance is.
That is incorrect, Mr. Chairman. It is in the report from the Planning Department to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Both the initial variances that were requested and the change that Mr. Scolas had submitted. So that information is in your packet. It's in the memo dated January 5th, 2022 from the Planning and Community Development Department.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Thompson.
Chair.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chair, could we ask that we have some order here? I mean, to go back and forth.
Sorry.
No, I'm not, you've allowed the public to speak and then they're coming back up and it's back and forth, back and forth.
I needed, it was a
I get
question.
it, but to keep going back and forth, it's.
Well, that's why we're opening the public meeting, just like we do in planning, and then I'm closing it. We're still in the open public meeting.
All right.
And I just wanted Mr. Thompson to clarify that, since he's the keeper of the website and everything. Anybody else online would like to speak to this matter?
Yes, I do. This is Karen Merton at 24495 Meadowbridge. I also is opposed to this place being built on Union Lake. I again also share my same issues as does Gilchrist, who just was discussing this issue. This has been going on for, like you said, how many years? And he first started building it, then there was recession. Now we have another issue with can't get materials to build on this property. And how long is it going to take him to build? Number three, we have a great view right now outside my backyard. And then I'm going to have to be looking at another set of condos or apartment complexes. There are so many complexes of apartments, condos, all the way around here. And how much are these going to go for in order for people to have to live in these? Half these people are not even working today because of this pandemic. So I think that this is going to be built or half built, and he's going to run out of time or money or material, and it's going to remain like it is, same as it is right now, not ish. And I think that this area should not be built on, period. We have enough condos, enough apartments on either side of this across Union Lake. And I feel that this is going to jeopardize my property value if I have to go to sell this place. So I just agree. I just don't think that he has the right to go ahead and keep appealing this and not finishing the project that was initially started way back when. And it's just going to be ridiculous that we just has to keep coming up as an appeal to build on this property.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else online that like to speak to this?
Yes, I'd like to speak. My name is Joe Ferran. I live at 24509 Meadowbridge. And I also agree with Karen and Patricia. This area is dense enough. There is hardly enough room to put anything there. I don't believe a fire truck could turn around, but maybe. I haven't lived here as long as some of the others, but 2 or 3 years. So I don't know the history of it, but there's not really much room to put there. And this area does not need more condos. It's already dense enough. That was all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else online who'd like to speak to this matter?
I don't see anybody identifying themselves.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Let's open it up to the board. Mr. Campbell?
Yeah, couple of general comments. The history of this goes back to, I don't know, a number of years. I didn't look up the exact date when it started.
I know it was on the
But
board.
this was approved, and the petitioner started construction. As he indicated in the beginning, he's done a lot of infrastructure work to move the project along. He did that based upon an approval given by this board. And I do feel somewhat of an obligation that we adhere to that, what we basically caused the petitioner to do. I'd also comment that comments were made about fire trucks turning around. That was definitely identified as an issue when this was first came to this board many years ago. And the fire department reported this was acceptable, that the fire trucks could turn around the way that the street would be laid out. There also seems to be a lot of comments about property or being built, excuse me, comments about buildings being only 10 feet from the property line. That is not excessive or not too small. Most R5 residential single-family homes in this township are less than 10 feet. My next door neighbor is 10 feet from my property line. So to represent that as some sort of concession or something that is not right, I can't accept that argument. It's when a vast number of R5 complexes are within 10 feet. The bottom line, I think the petitioner has done exactly what this board last asked him to do, which was reduce the density of this development. And he has done it to reduce it below the level, as if his numbers are correct, below the level of the density of Meadowbridge condos right next door. So I feel approval of this is warranted.
Anybody else on the board like to speak to this?
I would.
Go ahead.
I totally understand what you're saying, that he's made decisions on his property based on what the board has agreed to over a decade ago. But that is a very, very condensed area. And I know we were talking about 10 feet variances between properties, but that makes a huge difference, especially in, I know we can't do anything about buildings that are there already, that are currently with that. But I know, me personally, that wouldn't be a great way of living if I had my neighbor 10 feet or less from me. That just doesn't, I don't know, that just doesn't sit well with me, especially with new construction coming up. We have to make sure that we don't go off of the old the way we were doing things. We have to make sure that we're planning for our city for growth, for people to want to come in our cities, and that it's not just overcrowded populations everywhere. And that's just my thought.
Thank you. Mr. Merrill?
Thank you. I was over the property earlier today, and I had two different thoughts. Number one, this project fits the neighborhood. It's very similar, it's one of those that I don't see it being out of character. The other thing that I was curious about, and I don't know, I didn't have a tape measure with me, does anybody know what the setback is of the Meadowbrook, or Meadow, whatever it is, I apologize, if we knew what the setback was there, because I don't think that's 35 foot either. So to me, you know, the buildings in Meadowbrook aren't right up against the property line. They are closer, but at the same time, I'm kind of torn as to which way I really feel on this, just because of the fact that, again, it fits the area fairly well. Density's a little tight, but at the same time, I don't have a significant problem with it. You know, so I just wanted to give you my opinion.
Thank you. Mr. Pearl?
Yeah, if the board can indulge me, I'll give you a little history lesson of that street. First, I voted against the variance to begin with, but the zoning board approved it at the original one. But I did vote to extend it because this board approved him, the developer, and he put in all this underground. There's no way that I would expect Meadowbridge to like this at all. Obviously, it's better to have the forest that was there than to have this development. But I've built on this street years ago, maybe 30 years ago. The first development that was in, I didn't put in for my company, but it was in the 70s. And then the other developments came around and they said, what do you think? And we said, hey, it's your property. Do what you want with it. When we went to build the second development, which faced Union Lake Road, in '89, I believe it was, we went to the zoning board to get a variance, which is probably more than either one of these variances, density-wise. And then everybody that moved in other complexes said, oh, we don't want you here. Well, the zoning board, in their wisdom, said, look they didn't complain when you came in. Now you're going to complain when they came in. So when they want to build again, now you're complaining. So you know, it's obviously everybody that's there doesn't want something else. I thought it was probably the worst development because it was so narrow. That's why I voted against it originally. But once the zoning board approved it, the developer put in all this money and everything, and then got hit by everything under the sun. So I agree with Mr. Campbell that we're kind of obligated to continue this one more time. And I do remember we did ask him to come back with a smaller development. So, you know, it's not something anybody's going to like, but it does happen to fit. There are thousands of units in that area. That's what that area is. Harper, Union Lake Road has apartment complex and condominiums galore. So I don't know, you know, I feel that we're kind of obligated to, even though I wish he wouldn't have bought that narrow a piece of property. It didn't make sense. But that's the history. So thank you.
Thank you.
For indulging me.
Anybody else from the board? Go ahead.
Do we know when the property will be, if it's approved, when it'll be completed?
Petitioner?
Can you hear me? I've got my camera back on.
Yeah.
Okay. We intend to start construction when the weather breaks. You know, certainly there's an issue as far as labor and materials, but I don't see that as a unforeseeable challenge. I mean, that's just business as usual, right? So you know, I'm under the impression that once construction is actually started and building permits are pulled, that this variance stands until they're done, right?
Do we have a tentative deadline of the completion of the project?
Well, obviously we're motivated to get it done as soon as possible because it's simple economics. But that being said, there's no point. The stuff that we start in January doesn't finish any faster than the stuff that we start in March and April. So realistically, I mean, if this is a 1 year or 2 year project to completion, I think that's not unreasonable. And we've got over a decade invested in it.
Good. You're okay.
It was, yeah.
You got the floor.
Usually when a project is started, even though there may be issues with with workers and materials, we still have like a tentative date is this a 1-year project? Is this a 2-year project? Do you know?
Are you asking me a question?
Yes. Do you know how
Yeah.
long, if everything was perfect, is this a 1-year project? Is this a 2-year project? Just so we'll know.
It's not unreasonable to expect it to be done in a year, but without a permit or anything at this point, we haven't even done any due diligence or to even look into, getting people in the game. I would think it would be done within 2 years,
Okay.
realistically. I mean, without any challenges.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Pearl?
Can I ask the petitioner, is this the family that owns Sergeant Appliance?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I know from the history, you put an industrial building in recently and in our community. And I believe that went fine.
Okay.
So they're,
I think that was about 7 months start to finish.
yeah, I mean, they did a nice building and they, they worked with the neighbors and everything and got it done. So I think they have a history of doing it. I just don't think the property's the best property in the world.
Is there anybody else want to speak from the board? Any emails?
None, no, sir.
Motion's in order.
I'll make a motion to grant the variances as documented in the application, which is really a continuation of what was previously approved, except that the total number of units is restricted to 20. And this is based upon the practical difficulty that this is a reduction in density to be less than the neighboring condominiums.
Motion on the floor, is there support to this motion?
I'll support.
Moved and supported, further discussion?
Who supported?
Dave did. Motion on the floor and supported, roll call?
Mr. Campbell, yes. Mr. Merrill?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Bartolomeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore Porter?
No.
Mr. Alexander?
Vote yes.
And Mr. Diak?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you. Next item.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Good night.
Next item is 41554 Garfield, Church's Chicken. The request is to apply, I think it's changed in letters received, or emails, white vinyl graphics to read bold text flavor, 10 inches in height on front, and right aluminum portals to make customers aware of new chicken preparation. There were 45 letters sent to owners and occupants within 300 feet. None were returned as undeliverable. No written replies were received.
Is the petitioner here? State your name and address for the record, please.
Steve Reyes, 37857 Taylor Crest, Sterling Heights, 48310.
Go ahead and present your case, sir.
Yes, before we start, because I know that we received like the new change on the proposal because they were vinyl and they send us like it's kind of push-through letters, acrylic color, and that's been noted here because my office, he contact the city, we send them the picture, we send them the new.
You have it?
That's what I emailed. I emailed that to the zoning board
Okay.
members.
Yep, we have that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce.
I have pictures for what we had now. It's like a kind of push-through letters. It's just-
Okay, you can start down there and you can just pass them.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead with your case, sir.
Yes, so it was about that, less than 6 square feet of vinyl, what comes on the blue portal goes around the building. And it doesn't it's not like it's an individual sign, it's just connected to that kind of canopy. You know, and the picture shows this, that how we build it, how it's been built. I cannot like cut it and throw it out or eliminate it. It's something already there. So we're just trying to put like a small flavor to the chicken that we sell. Like everybody sells the chicken, but it just says Texas flavor, like bold Texas flavor. And that's it. That's all we are asking for. And there's two-sided of that. One goes to the front and one goes to the side of the building. We already had another signage that they eliminated by the city, and we went through that, and we said, yes, we accept that. But we are trying to get this approval just because of the construction is being done, and I don't think it's going to affect anybody else. Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to add, sir?
Sorry?
Anything else you would like to add?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody online like to speak to this matter?
Excuse me.
Open it up to the public. Anybody here like to speak to this matter? Okay, I'm going to close it to the public, open it up to the board. Mr. Campbell?
Yeah, this is a very unusual request. Usually, most commercial facilities, especially restaurants, looking for additional signs so people can identify the building, not to advertise their menus or the type of food that they have. And, I can think of only one other place in the township where they're pushing the food being sold there. And why do we need 5 of them?
No, there's no 5.
That's the documentation that was given to us. It says it was processed by the department and said there's 5. Well, okay, there's 5 additional wall signs that you.
No, those 5, that's done. The 5, there was another signs on the side of we took all that out. Now we are talking only about this portion here. The signs on the wall, we took them out. We agreed, we did have approval on that, and we are done. We took all the side signs.
So what, please be specific then.
Yes, sir.
How many signs of what size are you looking for?
There's only one sign in the wall. We approved that, and that's what we did.
That's what
But
you have.
the only extra we are asking, yes, we have one sign in the front. And then we are just asking for this portion here.
On the front of the building?
On the front and on the side of the building. It's like 5
North side or
inches.
south side?
Sorry?
North side or south side?
I think it's gonna park on the right side. Yeah.
The building's this way, and the Garfield.
South.
McDonald's to the
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gotta be the south, yeah.
So it's adjacent to McDonald's?
Correct.
Okay. So, okay, the diagrams, it looks like you're looking for 2 of those additional signs that say, what's the word? Old Texas flavor.
Yes,
2 of them, or 1 of them.
2 of them.
Okay. Putting 1 on the north, 1 on the side next to McDonald's, and the other one is
No, that's it. There are 2. One is gonna go in the front of the building, and one is in the side of the building. If you don't mind.
So on the south fascia or south
The south
elevation
fascia
and the
and
west elevation.
Is that where the drive-through is?
Correct.
So you want the drive-through people to see there's bold Texas flavor.
Building corner.
And even
This is the front.
Well, I'm gonna need your name and address. If you're gonna speak, you gotta have your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name's Josh Fubacher. I live in 3579 Palestine Road in Northport, Florida. So
Okay,
I'm the operations director for the area, so.
thank you. Mr. Thompson, you wanted to add something?
Well, I just
to
wanted to clarify, thank you, is that originally when they submitted, they did submit for 5 signs to the building department, and that information is kind of mixed in there because that's what came from the building department. But ultimately, they backed off of that, and they're just asking for 2 additional signs, one on the front and one on the side by the drive-through. So you were right in that there is certain information in the packet that at one point they did want 5, but not anymore. It's just 2 more, total of 3 for the building.
Okay, and the size of the signs, if I'm reading it correctly, is the lettering that says bold Texas flavor. It looks like that is, what, 9 inches?
Yeah, it's about 6 square feet altogether. It's 9 inches, 7/8 high by 7 foot, 7 inch, 7/8 inch. So
Okay.
6 square feet altogether. Like one sign.
I guess I'm surprised that you deem it worthy to spend the money for something that size. It's
a franchise. They start like a new. They built everything new. They're trying to come new. So when they did that, they did the store on Detroit. They did the store in Royal Oak. So it's just trying to look the same look everywhere, like missing something here or missing something there. You know, it's just an idea of, you know, when you go look at McDonald's, you know that's a McDonald's. You know, just to make it uniform everywhere.
You'd be agreeable then, I gather, if we approved this with a limit of, what? Total limit of the signage being under 20 square feet?
These 2 ones?
Yeah,
Yes, they are.
They are.
okay. Okay,
Okay.
the 20 square feet, I see no big deal.
It's
Yeah.
only 12 square feet. But
I'm making the assumption that this is the new corporate image for.
Yes, it's called the new Blaze image. You know, we're new to the area, so we're
Okay.
trying to really make it look nice.
And I definitely
Alex.
get the brand recognition, making sure you can distinguish yourself from the competition. But just so I can make sure I have complete clarity, this isn't something that's going to change down the road with a new flavor, new taste. This is going to be consistent once we approve it, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Anybody else? From the board? Motion's ordered. Go ahead, Mr. Campbell.
I'll make a motion to grant the variance as requested for 2 additional wall signs on the building with a total not to exceed 20 square feet. And this is based upon the practical difficulty or the undue hardship to show the flavoring of the characteristics of the product being sold there.
Support.
Moved and supported. Further discussion?
Who's with it, Mr. Alexander?
Yeah.
Further discussion?
Just, sorry, I apologize.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it looks like total square foot, just according to math, is about 6.5 foot per sign.
How many?
About 6.5, 6.45 square foot, so, just so you have a kind of an accurate number.
Thank you.
We'll leave it at 20 square feet.
Mr. Mr. Thompson, any emails?
No, sir.
Thank you. Moved and supported. Roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Campbell, yes. Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore Porter?
Yes.
Mr. DeBartolomeo?
Yes.
Mr. Merrill?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Diak?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
thank
Take
you.
care. Take care. Have a nice evening.
Good night.
Next item on the agenda.
Next item is 36637 Gratiot Avenue. Purpose of the request is looking for approval to place an additional sign on the building to read AAA House Agency. There were 50 letters sent to owners and occupants within 300 feet. None were returned as undeliverable. No written replies were received.
Petitioner here?
Yes.
Please step forward, name and address for the record, sir.
My name is Larry Howard, Howard Realty Group, 42524 Hayes, Suite 600, Clinton Township, Michigan, 48038.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead and state your case, please.
If I may, I'd like to pass out pictures because I just think that'd be easy, if that's
Sure.
okay.
You got enough for everybody, or?
I believe I
Okay,
do.
thank you.
I'll just take them all and I'll roll them on down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I one short? No, I got it, okay. Sorry about that.
Used to be a lot easier to pass pictures down.
All this plastic.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
If you take a,
Slots in there?
Yeah. Bruce, can you handle slots in the?
I don't know about that. Kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
Yes, go ahead,
if
sir.
you take a look at the picture, what you see is a multi-tenant shopping center. Now, we've done a lot of leasing in this shopping center recently. We've hit 100% leased. We've renovated every single box with building permits, new HVAC systems. We've painted the outside of the building. We've seal coated the parking lot and striped it. What I'm actually asking for doesn't even look like a variance, because if you look at that picture, you will see every one of them is an individual storefront, starting with Enterprise on the south side of the property, then Jackson Hewitt, then Blank, then the next one. The Blank is AAA. AAA just joined us. The people that own Jackson Hewitt own AAA. The spaces are separated by a partition. When I did the deal, the tenant was cost conscious, and I went to the building department and I said, I don't want to create two completely separate spaces. I do this all the time where we need separate electric, separate bathrooms. It's owned by the same people. So the space is joined in the back, has been joined in the back for as long as I know. It's always looked like different storefronts. So I was surprised when I found out, hey, that's actually one store. You need to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals to get another identification for this. So that's why I'm here, so AAA can identify themselves on Gratiot. It's not the best example, but Partridge Creek has Victoria's Secret in pink, is sharing a sign. They're two brands owned by the same company in the same space. This is more segregated than that is. I mean, to the general public, it just looks like another store right next to it. I don't want to go through the expense of putting the partition from the beginning to the back, putting in separate electric, and putting in a separate bathroom that nobody needs. So that's why I'm at the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Anything else you'd like to add? Sir, anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody, I'm going to open up to the public. Is there anybody online that'd like to speak to this matter?
None?
Any emails?
No, sir.
Open it up to public here. Anybody like to speak to this matter? Closing the public section. Open it up to the board.
I do have a question. I think this might be for you, Bruce. Is it because they, and correct me if I'm wrong, do they share the same address? Is that why they're considered one location for this particular variance? 'Cause I think it was both of them 36637, I think it is.
I think there's an A and a B,
Okay,
if I remember seeing correctly.
I don't know the answer to that question.
okay.
Is there a separate address for
It's
that
the same.
location?
It's the same address.
For Hewitt, Jackson Hewitt?
Right,
and
I
AAA?
asked for it to be A and B, which I've done in multiple centers throughout southeastern Michigan. For whatever reason, they said, we want to keep it the same address. Go to the Zoning Board of Appeals. You know, because I just said, sweet B, if you see an office building and you see Charles Schwab and then you see Merrill Lynch on the same building, they very rarely have different addresses. One will be Suite 100, one will be Suite 200. Same with my building on Canal and Hayes, Executive Square. You know, I have my identification, as does the ophthalmologist behind me. So it's, you know, for whatever reason, they wanted to keep the address the same, but the storefronts are separate.
Anybody else on the board like to speak to this? Mr. Campbell?
We've had cases like this in the past. I see no reason not to approve it. You know, it's essentially a separate establishment, and
Totally different
the identification is needed to safely get the public to the right location.
Do you want to make a motion for that, or?
Sure, I'll make a motion to grant the variance as requested to allow a separate sign that reads AAA House Agency based upon the undue hardship that there are multiple storefronts or locations with the same address under the same ownership.
Support. No.
Move and support. Who supported that?
She beat me to it. She got it this time.
Move and supported. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Okay, let me catch up here. Mr. Campbell, yes. Mrs. Moore Porter,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Vote yes.
Mr. Bartolomeo.
Yes.
Mr. Merrill,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mr. Diak.
Yes.
Motion
You're
passed.
approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening. Next item on the agenda.
Last item, 23541 Easy Street, request for a variance for the rear yard setback for a deck. There were 23 letters sent to owners occupants within 300 feet. None were returned as undeliverable. No written replies were received.
So petitioner here?
I'm virtual.
Oh, you're virtual, okay, go ahead. State your name and address for the record and present your case, please.
Anthony Urban, 23541 Easy Street. And requesting a variance for the rear yard setback. The original back wall of my house is only 32 feet from the rear property line, already encroaching 3 feet in to the setback. There's an addition on the home that's only 20 feet from the rear property line. There was an old deck that was about 12 feet from the rear property line, and I'm asking for the variance because when you do a new deck, it's about 10 feet from the rear property line.
Anything else you'd like to add?
My yard is fairly narrow. I really don't have much of a backyard. It's all pretty much side yard, so just not much room I'm working with to put a deck in that can actually be enjoyed.
Okay. Anything else? That's it?
I think so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody online like to, I'm going to open it to the public. Anybody online like to speak to this matter? Anybody in here would like to speak to the,
Oh,
in the
yes.
board chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Brochelle.
As on other cases tonight where you said that you kind of had to go along with the way you've acted in the past, this particular residential property is only asking for a small, very basic variance to build a deck, whereas you approved recently with a property that really is about to lose their variance, a 0 setback for a bar in a residential zone right next to a resident, right, it's a Groesbeck and Shoreline, and right by the Myers. And so you've granted a 0 setback for a bar restaurant in a residential area to the resident next door. So that sets a precedent that, and there again, in that particular case, and there again, it's on video, the hardship stated was the fact that they were landlocked, even though the property to the north and the south were both for sale, and they had frontage on 2 roads. So this has got to be much more, he's got a great case, he's got a great hardship, and I think if you're going to be consistent, you've got to approve it.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to speak to this matter? Closing the public side, opening it to the board. All right, who was up first? Dave?
I'm farther away.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I was going to say, I was over the property earlier today, and configuration of the property and the way the house is set on it, I definitely can understand why he's needing a variance in this particular situation. I actually drove by the house, not even thinking that that was the house. I figured it was farther down, and then came back and kind of realized where this was. So, just from what I see, I don't see a problem with it, but I'll leave it to you guys to continue to discuss. But
Well, thank you. Mr. Campbell?
Yeah, a question for the petitioner. What is behind your property, all that open field there? Who owns it and what's it used for?
So on the northwest corner of Gratiot and Easy Street, there's a home and even a couple of outbuildings. I believe they own the entire strip of property behind me as well. There, it's just an open field. It's often unmaintained. As far as specifically who owns it, I don't have that individual's name.
Okay. But You'd think it's the, that house at the corner of Gratiot and Easy owns it?
Yes, I believe so. And I believe it is split off into 2 parcels though, if that matters.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else from the board like to speak to this matter? Seeing none, motion's in order.
Make a motion to grant the variance as requested for the.
Hello, can anyone hear me?
Oh, is there somebody online like, okay, I closed the public, but I'll reopen it only because it's virtual.
Yes, hi, thank you. I tried to connect so many times, I just had technical difficulties.
Okay, no problem.
Yes, hi,
Name
I
and
just
name and
wanted
address.
to contribute. Am I allowed to still?
Name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Sarah Gavy. I'm at 23572 Easy Street. I'm a I live directly across the street from Anthony.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I think that the deck that is now existing is just a contribution to the street, and aesthetically it just looks beautiful, and I'm thankful to have that now. I'm the person that looks at it every day and night, so.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, motion, did we have a motion? Okay, Mr. Campbell.
I was halfway through. I'll make a motion to grant the variance as requested for the projection into the rear yard of the, an additional deck based upon the practical difficulty that there's no other practical space to add a deck to the house. And that's it.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have support to that motion?
I'll support.
Mr. Merrill supported, moved and supported. Further discussion from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Campbell, yes. Mr. Merrill?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Vote yes.
Mrs. Amoa Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Bartolomeo?
Yes.
Mr. Diak?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next agenda items, election of officers for God, I was going to say 2021, 2022. Mr. Pearl?
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with the board, I'll move that we reappoint the existing officers to their same posts for next year, for this current year.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
Support.
Moved and supported. Further, any discussion?
Keep up the good work.
You're leaving.
Your turn will come.
Yeah. Motion's been moved and supported. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, I lost track of it. Mr. Pearl made the motion, right?
Yeah,
Pearl made
second
the
by me.
motion and Dave second.
No, Mark did.
Oh, sorry.
I know we sounded like Dave.
I can't hear all the way down.
Okay. Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Vote yes.
Mrs. Amoa Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell, yes. Mr. Bartolomeo?
Yes.
Mr. Merrill?
Yes.
Mr. Diak?
Yes,
Thank you.
and thank you for the support.
And the vote of confidence.
Vote of confidence.
Don't let us down.
Okay, public comments. We have 3 minutes.
Basically.
Name and address, Sam.
Okay.
I just,
Okay. Samuel Bushell, 18546 Wayland Drive.
go ahead, sir.
My comments now are going to really fit into that. This board is subject to the Open Meetings Act. And until I complained a few years ago to get it to where there was finally some public comments at it, it is against the rules of the Open Meeting Act to demand that people give their name and address, which basically, that's.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, don't. And there again, tonight, in this open meeting, I requested to hear what the variances were on 2 different cases and what the hardship was, and was told, no, it was in something that the planner had emailed to you guys, and you just refused to say it. There again, Mr. Pearl said, well, was that okay, Bruce? And he said yes, but you didn't. There again, this is on video, so this is very easily provable. I'm going to be asking the township board to have the township attorney bring this stuff up and get it back to some kind of legality. And there again, the hardship, as you know, the poles that were privately owned, that is not a legal hardship. And that property They had already lost their site plan. They still have to go to the board now. They have to go to the board to get their brand-new site plan approved. It has been so long, they lost their site plan. And another case you had tonight started in 2005. There again, the township has probably changed a lot, and I've lived around the area for 2000, since well before that. It's changed, the rules have changed. To say that you have to honor something that was done in 2005, delayed again from a year ago, doesn't make sense. And I'm hoping that the board will at least have the township attorney educate you as to the fact that you can't demand some of this stuff, and you have to, literally in an open meeting, the whole idea of an open meeting, you have to state what you're ruling on. You just didn't do it. You refused to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else want for public comment? Okay, Bruce, report of the meeting of December 15th. Oh, we got the minutes from the December 15th meeting.
We need a motion.
We did correct the, where it said planning commission.
Well, even with that correction, it still needs a further correction.
Go ahead.
Instead of Thursday, January 13th, at the very second to the last heading, it should read Wednesday, January 19th.
Okay. We make that?
Absolutely. It was
Okay,
just cut
and-
and pasted, and that was our error.
Probably the template.
Yeah, it was cut and pasted.
You gotta love Word.
I apologize.
I have one other request to change. On very bottom paragraph on page 2, it starts ZBAs. I think that word should be variances.
Okay.
Variances for this type of request have been
Okay.
granted in the past.
Duly noted.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve it with the 2 changes requested.
Support. Any additional comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Bruce?
Okay, we.
Reported it was for the
Yeah,
next
for
month's
the,
meeting?
for next month meeting, we do have a meeting next month. Unfortunately, I do not have a set agenda yet. I do know that we do have 3 items coming up, so we will have a meeting. That's all I can tell you at this point.
Okay, sir. And you had something else you wanted to talk about?
Yes, just briefly, as all of you know, because I emailed you, the state order to allow virtual meetings, attendance of this board at virtual meetings has expired. Obviously, you're all here because you know that that's the way it's got to be from this point forward. And then the question remains is how does this board specifically want to proceed regarding allowing or continuing to allow public access via virtual? It's not required by law. That is really a choice, if you will, of this board. At the Planning Commission meeting, they discussed and decided to not allow that to continue, that everything will be in-house, in person, the way that it was before. Just like the Planning Commission, just like the Township Board, and just like you have the ability to make that decision to allow it to continue or to cease and go back. So I'm just looking for direction from this board as to how you want to proceed in that manner from this date going forward. Again, it's not part of your rules of procedure. It's not required by law, but you do have the option if that's something that you wish to do. So please advise.
What's the feeling of the board?
I'll say everything back in person for me personally.
Pre-COVID?
In
Everything back to
person.
pre-COVID?
Yep.
Mr. Campbell?
I think it's valuable to allow people to connect remotely, because quite often, particularly on stuff involving commercial establishments, we're dealing with part of a national chain, or we're dealing with a local branch or a local store of a national chain. We've had people have to fly in here from Florida for a 3-minute meeting, which practically speaking to me doesn't make much sense. And I think where appropriate, I think it's reasonable to allow people to participate remotely.
Dave, you have a comment?
Yeah, for this board, I don't necessarily see a problem with continuing virtually. It doesn't seem to get as in-depth as some of the other conversations that you get in the planning or the Board of Trustees. I can recall a few times where we had people from out of state that were, going on the record and stating their case for their client, that's based here. My say probably doesn't mean a significant lot, just because of the fact that here in a couple months, I'm going to be moving. But at the same time, I think that as a community, we want to be, I don't want to say easy access, but easy to work with. In the planning commission, I can agree with wanting people to come up and be here face to face. But most of the stuff that we've dealt with or that I've seen over the past 2 years isn't quite that in-depth. I mean, there are some, but the virtual I haven't had a problem with at all. Even this evening, the one petitioner had a slight delay on his audio feed. We asked him to shut off his video, and he was right there. So there's pros and cons to both sides, but I also think that technology is the way of the future. So we got to just keep those things in mind as well. That's
Any
all.
other comments? It's for the board. Right?
Yeah, it's just a discussion of the board.
This is a discussion for the
Well,
board.
I'm still in person. I think that, I don't see any problem if they want business conducted, they can come here,
All due respect.
you know? I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, no, and again, it's just, I think that in times like this is where just open conversation leads us down the right path.
I mean, I think we should be on the same page, and when we were virtual, then they were, obviously.
Right.
But, we're in person, I'd like to see the petitioner and the people.
I think I agree with the point that to keep all the boards consistent, that makes it, I think, easier to explain to the public. It makes it easier for the setup and everything. Although, I guess it still rankles me that people have to spend a lot of money and time to fly in for a 5-minute presentation.
Okay, I guess, is everybody, do you want me to do show of hands, or are we going to
Whatever.
continue the in-person? Okay, show of hands, who's going to do in-person?
In person?
You got 4 right there.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Dave. Not Dave.
Okay, in person it is, and we'll make sure
Thanks,
that
Bruce.
the cable is aware,
Right.
that the clerk's office is aware, the supervisor, that everybody's aware that you're doing, in essence, the same thing as planning commission. It's going back to pre-COVID in-person meetings. Thank you for the direction. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Seeing that, motion in order to adjourn?
So move.
Support?
Support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
That's the longest meeting you've run.
Merrill.